What's up, everybody? Good morning. I am lucky enough to be joined today by a friend of the show who's been on a few times now, Trevor Owens, head of the Stacks Accelerator and the co-founder of today's project we're going to be talking about, which I'm excited about, Ninjalerts. Trevor, how's it going?
Good to be here, Mal. Thanks for connecting. Thanks for supporting this project. And actually, if I can quickly give you a shout out because we worked with you guys as well on the Moonray project. I just want to let everybody know you guys did a great job helping us with Moonray, one of the investments that I'm an investor in. You guys did our smart contract for our pre-sale passes, and it was amazing. So anyone who's listening, you guys should know that NFT Culture also does smart contract development, and they do a fantastic job. So I wanted to kind of give you a shout out for that. But it's great to be here and talk about Ninjalerts.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been fun because we've been talking about a few different things and just getting to know all the projects that you have been working on and getting to know Sasha and then Moonray and Rodrigo and it's cool that Mike coming from that back end is really excited. So thank you, unexpected. But yeah, if anyone needs contract help, part of what NFT Culture is doing now is helping with some of that guidance. So. Yeah, so tell us about stacks. We've seen a lot of these things starting to pop up. A lot of them are incredibly expensive. A lot of people are wallet peeping manually to just try and see who or which influencers they like are starting to buy certain projects. And one of the biggest problems, and I talk about this quite a bit, is the mental health side and really being able to disconnect from the computer. And with NFTs up to around 20 drops per day, it's hard for a lot of folks to keep up with it unless they either stay home, take their laptop with them, or an awesome Python programmer. And so this is interesting to me because I can now start watching the things and the drops that I really am excited about without having to be at my desk. So how did you guys come up with this idea?
Yeah, maybe I'll give everybody a brief background on myself too, and then I'll go into like the genesis of the idea. So, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, about over a decade now. I started a couple of different companies. One company in the education space that was very successful, and then I also launched multiple SaaS products, probably like 5 different SaaS products over the last decade, varying levels of success. I advised a lot of companies, started investing, and then this year I started a fund focused on blockchain called Stacks Accelerator. We invest in companies building on Bitcoin with a kind of like a layer 2 called Stacks, which enables smart contracts. And I've also been working with a development team on another company for a while the past year, even before this fund, where we've been developing different products. And so coming into the NFT space, being a very active trader, I think I've spent almost 50 grand on gas fees. By the way, that's kind of the volume of trading that I've been doing. And exactly what you just touched on, like, you know, getting good opportunities is all about kind of getting the jump, right? It's like being the first. It's about seeing what other people are buying and influencers and tracking those kind of things. And I was in what I would do is I have like a big 49-inch Samsung G9 monitor, which is like the king of gaming monitors, and it's super ultra wide, and I can fit like uh, probably like 6 or 7, screens on my screen. And so when a hot mint is dropping, like what I would have is, first of all, I'd have to like get to my computer like 30 minutes early, check in on the Discord, see what's going on, and then I would need to find the smart contract address and make sure I have it on my screen. I would even put like go to time.is, which is a website that has like the real-time time, just so I know the exact time it's dropping. And then I would just be constantly refreshing Etherscan page to see when the administrator is puts the sale live. And so like the amount of effort going into just figuring out like being the first to mint is quite significant.
Yeah.
And I felt like there had to be an easier way, because even when you're constantly refreshing Etherscan, you have to like, I would actually have the administrator's wallet on my command F. So that way I'd like refresh and then command F to see, is that the administrator or not? And I thought like this should totally be automated. I shouldn't have to constantly refresh the page and constantly like looking at my screen to see it. I should just get a notification on my phone. And I'm also a full stack developer, so I know that this is pretty easy to execute. I looked at the different APIs, and I also thought that this could be applied to reveals, because the same thing with when a project reveals, same idea on Etherscan, constantly refreshing. The time is, time.is up on my screen. And I just thought like this would be so much easier. And then extending that idea into wallet watching is also not too difficult. So, I have all the different tools, NFT tools, WGMI, Nansen, Moby, and I use all these tools. And, they're just not that customizable, or they're too expensive. For example, Nansen is like $150 a month for 3 alerts. Okay. And like, if I want to follow 10 influencers, I need to pay $1,500 a month, and that only gets me 100. And then the UX is not that great. And there's actually, I was thinking there's like way more directions we could even take this. So instead of just following one influencer's wallet, what if I could say, hey, only alert me when these 3 influencers combined decide to mint something or decide to take a certain action? And so I felt the existing tools out there were fairly limited and overpriced. And I thought I could develop this for myself. And I was talking to the CTO, my CTO, with the company we already have. We're very excited about blockchain and how it can change almost every industry. And we thought, hey, why don't we try this project out? And so we initially just built the landing page. We put a roadmap together, started spreading the word, and then I think it really caught on. People got really excited about it. Our Discord started growing to where it vastly exceeded my expectations. And the more I talk to people, like even complete strangers, like a lot of different YouTubers and stuff like that, they were all excited about it too. And so we've gotten some great coverage on YouTube. Some different YouTubers just picked it up or just DM me and told me that they really liked it and they were going to just cover it. And so that's kind of where we're at today. So the general idea is, like I talked about, you can create alerts for any contract, any wallet, and you can configure it so you can filter those alerts based on the method call in the contract. So if you want to filter for only the administrator, only the sale is active method, you can do that. If you want to filter for only the base URI being changed, meaning a reveal has happened, you can do that. And then I also want to provide a curated list of whales and influencers, because I know a lot of these people, I've been following them on Twitter, I've kind of figured out who's who is. And the existing tools either just give you a list of everybody, and they don't let you like pick who you want to follow, or um, or what they do is like they make you follow everybody, or they don't really let you to like see an existing menu of like specifically curated people.
Yeah, and that's it's really interesting, and we're in such a weird time with the market right now, where if Gary Vee buys something, and all of a sudden it goes up parabolic, and it's really interesting to see some of the pricing of the tools that you've mentioned, and I've invested in some of those as well, and when you think about the amount of stuff that's going on and being in the first block for these projects, because it becomes cost prohibitive to enter a lot of these projects on the secondary market right now. And so something like this, if it gets you in just right ahead, and I could see use cases for this where I have the app running on my phone and I'm still at my computer because I need to know when that contract turns on, because if I don't make it, even if I do pay crazy gas, I may not get through on some of these well promoted early projects. And it looks like you are filling a market need with over 50,000 people already in the Discord. And so I'm going to ask you a tough question. Around 50,000 people in the Discord, which would be rough estimates, a quarter ish of active traders who'd be really excited about some of this, but no one knows the true numbers. I'm curious, once everyone uses this tool, how is it going to impact it? So obviously some of the stuff that's going to be great is they can follow the collectors that they're into. And I really like that. It's like some of these hidden Discords, it's like, here's our list, and we don't have any say over which influencers they want to follow. I may like this influencer today, I may not like this influencer, and I don't mean to call them influencers, but collector / influencer. So the ability to change it based on how they're performing. I'm curious if you have any features that are going to be added to that long term. I know you've hinted at some roadmap features, but I'm curious, what your view is in terms of how flexible this is for, uh, let's call us retail, maybe not us, but a lot of people that are in our discords, retail collectors. They don't have the disposable ETH to buy 60 NFTs on a project, and if it goes to zero, it doesn't affect them. Some of these people are trying to buy, 3 or 4, and with gas and Ethereum where it's at right now, timing is everything. So I'm curious if you could just go into a little bit more around some of that functionality too.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things that we had in mind for designing a tool is that this should allow, like, empower your creativity or empower your strategy. A lot of what you see in some of the tools is like leaderboards, like, hey, this is the highest volume right now. And the problem with that is that, like, they're showing the same leaderboard to everybody. And so, like, efficient market hypothesis, like, if everybody's seeing the same leaderboard, probably there's not a lot of opportunity to profit there because everybody's already seen it. And it's probably too late, right? And then everybody's trading on the same information. Versus with this, we want to provide not only a very exhaustive list of different influencers so that it gives people the flexibility to follow different people, but also you can add anyone who you want to. You can add your friends. You can add people in your Discord. There's a lot of great traders nobody knows about. Okay, there's a lot of people in some of these alpha groups or in some of these collections who probably are making great profits and or have really great insight, but that one of our users might know them, but we don't know them, right? And so the ability to really customize it, I think, is key, not only to the fact that you can get alpha from it in the long term, um, but also for people to get the best profits for themselves. And so where we want to take this in the future is to make these alerts be almost like if then statements. And so the idea would be um, that you could really, what we're going for is filtering for super high signal sign, like super high
Right.
signal. So it's not just like, hey, I want to see everything Gary Vee mints, because everything Gary Vee mints doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good buy. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you can come up with if then statements to figure out for yourself what is going to be super high signal, like, let's say uh, Gary Vee and and Pranksy and Jimmy all mint it, or you do something like, hey, I want to only get alerts when 10% of Bored Ape Yacht holders mint something or buy into a collection.
Wow.
And so thinking about, like, uh, allowing people to create super high signal alerts where
Right.
it's like, I get an alert, I know I have to buy right away, and being able to, like, customize those and compose different sets of rules, I think, is where this can really go. And, like, the tools today, like I was saying, it's just a stream of everything. The filtering and the ability to make the alerts smarter and smarter isn't there. And that makes sense because no one's focusing just on alerts. And that's probably one of our biggest advantages, is that we are just focused on alerts and we're just focused on a good and easy to use user experience. Whereas something like Nansen, they provide a lot of functionality. It's amazing. And for those really top tier traders or people who are doing this full time, like, that's probably the tool for them. And they probably even code their own solutions and apps on top of that to work with that data set. But this is more for, like, the mass market user, I guess, but also trying to make it a really powerful tool for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's really awesome. I didn't even think about the fact that, like, if I want to track the momentum across various, well, I was thinking of it in terms of 1, 2, 3, right? Pranksy and Gary go into something that is an indicator, but when you do think about, and this is one of the key things that people need to be considering, is like the communities, right? If I can track the sentiment of the Bored Ape Yacht Club as a community, both possibly buying and selling these types of things. Um, what's really interesting now, my mind's going in a different direction, is it also provides transparency at some point, where we can start measuring out where the pumping and dumping is occurring and who and what maybe doing that. But you could measure, just like some of the stock market tools. Like, if I can measure the sentiment of a project because a community that I really trust is going into it, it's really cool. It's one of those things, like, to use a weird example, like, Paper D it does these. He only has 100 of these bored to death, and he's been on our show a lot. And but he has 100 of these bored to death NFTs. But if you own this NFT, he creates one-to-one derivatives of chubby apes, and now he's doing the ape toads and all these customizations. So like it's really cool. But what's interesting about this community is because that little micro community can only have 100 users, and to get into that community, you likely had to have had an ape. That little micro market, one person in there by themselves, and it's not a DAO, but it has DAO like features. One person in there probably doesn't move the market at all. But if you're tracking all the wallets of all the members in there and the sentiment, and these are long term holders, they're not flippers. Now you're going to see, okay, these NFTs that this group is likely buying, they're buying for the long term. And if I miss this, I'm not going to get burned. So I think that this tool would be really cool to start measuring some of those types of things as well. This is my mind's going in a million different directions. Where you
Yeah,
can take this
that's
now.
awesome. Yeah, I'll give you a couple other thoughts, and like these are all just ideas. Like really, we're going to market with the V1 right now, which is already live. We submitted to iOS and Google Play stores, which is the contract watching, and we have the web app, we have the mobile app, alerts on both platforms, and then November 5th we're having um, the wallet watching and the list of influencers. And by the way, the countdown timer you're seeing here is for October 28th, which is our whitelist mint. I can talk a little bit about how we're doing the mint as well to kind of like make sure that we're not doing like too big of a supply or too little of a supply, and kind of how people have been getting on the whitelist to participate in this sale. But where we're also thinking about is, we're going to be getting a lot of feedback. So once we do our mint, it's like those are our users, those are our paying customers. The customer is always right, uh, and so it's like talking to our users, figuring out what their pain points are, and really making sure that like they can use the app, that it actually helps them get good trades, because you know people obviously really like this, they really want it, but it also has to help them actually make a good trade. So like until like every user on our platform makes like their money back from what they invest, I don't think that we have succeeded. Like that's our goal. And so where we're going to be focusing in the early days is probably more on the buying signals. I think that's kind of like what most people are looking into. But there's also the opportunity to do selling signals as well, like you were alluding to. So
Right.
alerts can apply to like floor price movement. They can apply to volumes of listing. They can apply to velocity. They can apply to even the thickness of a floor. So like sometimes in a collection you can have a floor that is low, but then the number of items to get to a big jump might be few. So maybe you have like three really low items on a floor, and you're starting to get that velocity towards the where it's going to end up in a few minutes. The floor is going to jump to a new level.
Right.
So these are all kind of like different ideas that we're thinking about.
No, this is really interesting, and I love that it's for the retail, because I come from a slightly more I was a computer science major in college, and these are all ideas that I had, but like just even interacting with APIs, it's tedious. And even though I'm somewhat familiar with it, and then you join some of these private discords which let you set alerts, but even then now you have to be a Discord expert and a contract expert. And so when you think about making this accessible, and this is one of the big conundrums that I have with the current market in NFTs, is that it's not a fair playing field right now. We talk about DeFi and decentralization, but the people with the ETH are making the decisions of what's valuable in the NFT space. And so something like this that's affordable for someone who doesn't have, once again, same analogy, 60 ETH to throw at a project, it's not necessarily going to guarantee that they're going to win. And we try to avoid financial advice 100% of the time, but it does give them the same data, probably a lot less expensive. And so I'm really looking forward to it. So we have 3 days, 8 hours. What's the sentiment? You do have a lot of folks in the Discord already. It seems like there's a ton of activity. A lot of the influencers you've been talking to on Twitter and other YouTubes and stuff, there's just a lot of excitement around this. I guess when you think about the roadmap, how quickly are you going to be doing improvement? So is it going to be weekly, monthly, quarterly, or just as fast? Depends on how quickly it sells.
So like I'm going full force on this. I mean, my CTO, by the way, he's a amazing full stack developer, like a true 10x engineer. He's a beast. He's been doing a great job at getting everything going. But we're hiring and we're already building our team. And I've already reached out to some of like the top engineers that I've worked with over the years, top front end, top back end. My CTO actually went to like the what's considered like the MIT of Korea. I'm actually based in Seoul, and so he has a bunch of his top engineer friends that are excited to come on board. And so we're basically a week away from V2 of having the wallet watching. We're doing a so what we're doing is we're doing a mint on the 28th, which is 3 days away, for lifetime licenses. And so what I did was when I actually kicked off this project, I actually before we did the landing page, so as I said, I'm a startup investor. I've been doing startups for a long time. I actually was a author of a book on lean startup for doing that in corporates, and so I live and breathe the lean startup methodology. And so the first step before we even started this was like I did a lot of interviews with traders in a alpha group that I'm a part of called Metaverse HQ, which has a bunch of whales and traders who have made a ton of money in this cycle. And I was just asking them like, hey, what would be the best approach for launching this app? And what they said was like, hey, I would, what would really get me excited is if I could get a lifetime license, and I would do up to like 0.25 ETH for that. And so that's what we decided to do. We said we want to do a limited number of lifetime licenses for those early believers because we're just getting the app off the ground, and we want to go to market very quickly because we know this is a competitive space, and we know NFTs are basically the market's kind of in a bear cycle right now, right? And so in a bear cycle, I think something like a tool is kind of a what's the word? It's like a counter cyclical bet. It's like when the market is going down, people get more competitive and they look and they go make more effort to find advantages. And so we want to get this off the ground quickly. We thought this was something that people would really want right now specifically. And so the people who are coming in and minting are like our early believers. And so we want to do a very affordable mint, but we want to also limit it. So that way, we keep the supply low, and we would move to a subscription model similar to Nansen, but no way as expensive as that. We're targeting like after this around like 0.1 ETH per month or 1 ETH per year, which in my experience with all the tools that I use, it's like, hey, if I can make an ETH in a month from using this tool, then I'd be happy to pay for it for a year. But if you're like getting up to like 2 ETH, 3 ETH, 4 ETH, like that's super excessive. So we
Well,
thought, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, real quick. One of the things that because I'm looking at the comments and Gary's saying the pricing, and one of the responses, and I think this is an important nuance to discuss. DC says that that's more than Nansen fail, but it's not. It's you get three transactions or
Three alerts.
three alerts on Nansen, and
Yeah.
this is so. If you add three more, it starts
Well,
getting
why don't we
very
why don't we
expensive.
why don't we pull up Nansen for a second just to show people the pricing page, see what they think. Um,
And
so
this
pricing,
we're not going after Nansen, but
yeah,
we're
yeah,
just talking about pricing.
and also we're different tools. So you see if you click yearly, the base tier, sure, it's half an ETH per year for 3 alerts, right? But then if you want the
Sorry, I was muted. That's the big thing here. Like this is hidden down near the bottom, right? Three custom smart alerts for $1,500. You get 100 here. So like if and this is the big thing. Everyone, you hit the nail on the head. And people argue about the bear market, but the market is objectively down quite a bit from where it was in August. And yes, it's a lot higher than it was a year ago. But when you think about the volume and the momentum, there's a lot of people that are here. They want to stay here. And they want to keep trading NFTs and they want to find value. But when you start looking at these types of things, if you're not going to be a highly active trader, both Ninjalerts and Nansen probably aren't for you. This is for the people that are going to be actively looking, are going to be trying to find projects. And this is a tool. It is additive to kind of what you're doing. And so you're probably joining your Discords, you're doing your research on Twitter, you're joining spaces, you're listening to, their show, the Nifty Alpha, and those types of things. But then it doesn't matter if you know the right project and you don't know when that contract turns on. If you're 2 minutes late, you're not going to be in it anyway. And so this is where those tools start separating, retail from actually being proactive. And so if you are a user of this tool and you compare something like Ninjalerts pricing to this tool, Nansen, and other tools, Ninjalerts does start looking incredibly affordable, once again, if you're going to use it.
Yeah, totally. And like, we want to have it also an entry point of, zero point 0.1 ETH. That's the cost of like an NFT, right? So the average NFT you're going to be spending to mint like 0.5 to 0.1, and to use this for a month it would be 0.1. And so if it doesn't work, if you don't make your money back, then we fail. Then you don't become a long-term user of this. And so, I would think that if you are, very serious about NFTs, the amount of time that the goal here is to save you time, number one. So, NFTs can be super addicting. You have to be glued to what's happening all the time. And your time, and I've actually found that, sure, I made a lot of good trades. I made a lot of money trading NFTs, but actually compared to some of the returns in DeFi, with the time I had to invest in NFTs, it actually wasn't as high for some of the DeFi bets that I've made. And so I wanted to reduce the amount of time I could spend, and then still be able to make the same returns. And
Right.
so, I personally think that, like, if you're going to be serious about NFTs, you should be able to be making like 0.5, 1 ETH per month in a good cycle, and even in probably in a down cycle. And from the people that friends of mine who are not, really savvy when it comes to NFTs and trading, I've also seen them do very well, to that effect too. Like a friend of mine, I got her into NFTs. She was like, I need to pay for my law school. Like, and first of all, I normally wouldn't tell people to get into NFTs because I personally don't want to take the risk of getting someone. But she's like, Trevor, you have to help me. I know you're doing all this crypto stuff. I'm like, sure. Well, here's how it works. Check these things out. And she's not a developer. She is a very smart person, but it took a while for her to ramp up. And I think in like 2 months she was able to like double her like 4 ETH to 8 ETH. So
That's
and that's
awesome.
without like any kind of tool. And so that's how I did the calculation. I interviewed people. I asked what they thought. They thought this was reasonable. Some people said I should charge more because they don't want it to be, people want to kind of keep this to themselves. But at the end of the day, we're a business. If you don't get your money out of it, then we fail. So
And I think it's well done because you could have had tiers, right, where it's like you buy the NFT, you buy an NFT, or you buy access, and then you could hypothetically sell it. What's interesting about that is that you would be pricing that in a full year type of, or 3 year pass, or those types of things, which gets tricky for people. And people may want to take some time off, right? Like you could be into NFTs for a while. You may take a summer off like Danny does, and you can at least save the 0.3 ETH while you're gone. He's the type of person that would probably buy a lifetime pass, but there's a lot of different examples out there. I think that the pricing's fair. And this also just shows a little bit of the maturity of the NFT market, that we are seeing some of these flexible pricing methodologies coming into the space, because you don't know what the future holds. And it's an incentive to the Ninjalerts team to say it's not 1 ETH up front. Hey, it's 0.1, and if you got value out of it this month, why don't you try it again next month, and next month, and next month, and then if you get value over a quarter, maybe you do up your level and those types of things.
yeah,
I'm looking for.
and
Go on.
I'll say, and here's the other thing. What we're doing is we're selling an NFT that's a lifetime license.
Right.
So if you can resell it, if it doesn't, if let's say you want to quit NFTs, that's the benefit of using an NFT as a license to a software, is that you're not paying, like when you send Nansen half an ETH a month, that money's gone. When you buy an NFT that's a license, that is a lifetime license, uh, it's not gone. You invested in an NFT that you can resell. And so that's also what we took into consideration as well for these early adopters who are joining the launch of Ninjalerts.
Yeah, and that's important to note too, because I mean that it seems like there's going to be a lot of people trying to get in on this early one. It's a no brainer, even if you say if it's 0.25 to get this early pass, and you plan on being in NFTs 3 years from now, the floor immediately jumps to a minimum of 3 ETH plus. If that math holds true, and we all know that NFTs are here to stay, and so I think that it's a no-brainer. And I think that if people are interested, trying to get in on that early pass, get that access, is going to be the most affordable way to do it. People shouldn't be saying, do I go pay the 0.1? People should be saying, that are watching right now, what do I do to get in on this drop? Because there's a lot of upside potential, not just from the intelligence and the access and not having to pay the monthly subscription, but also the value of just doing math on a 3 year time, like the way normal business works. It's, what do we think this is going to be worth 3 years now, and what's my cost on it? It's a no brainer for me.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons why I really believe this in what we're doing is because this is the tool that I wanted for myself. Because I felt like, hey, there's 20 projects every day, X number of projects every day, but actually, very few of them. If like every day, there's probably one project that if you can get into that one project, you're gonna get double your money or make a few ETH. And so really it's about filtering the signal from the noise. And so I made this tool for myself so that I could be doing my normal day, my normal stuff, and but also not miss out on that one project that I have to get every day.
No, I love it, and thank you for always being a friend of the show, and letting us help with Moonray. I'm a big fan of this. I'm going to be trying to get to the early access mint pass, and I look forward to not just this, but the roadmap. I'd be curious if maybe after V2 or 2.1 comes out, and you start looking at those other indicators as well. Would love to have you back on the show. If the Discord says anything, there is definitely a lot of excitement. And for me personally, I can do the code, but I don't have time and I don't want to. And it's that engineer mindset, right? It's, what's the tedious task do you do over and over? And the thing that engineers do really well is, okay, if I do my time calculation and then if I can build a process that can automate this, well, it's a lot of time up front, and then the rest of your time is spent very easily. What's interesting, Michael Saylor says this a lot, is like when you think about currency and its representation of value of time, paying a little bit up front for this to save a bunch of time on the back end is definitely there. So if you are looking to save a little bit of time with NFTs, I'm looking forward to this project. Any final thoughts, Trevor?
No, just thank you, Mal, for having me and for also all your interest in everything that I've been doing and working with you with Moonray, creating that smart contract was fantastic. You guys do a great job. I love this show, and I also want to give a shout out to all of the ninjas who are watching, all of our ninjas in the Discord. I'm really grateful that people have taken interest in this project. I can't say that enough. I'm in a really fortunate position that people care about this and they find it a good idea. And so, thank you to everybody who's watching and who is interested in this.
There's probably already some ninja derivatives in the work. I could actually see, like, there's going to be a 10,000 NFT derivative project that's only available to Ninjalerts holders. Someone's going to do it if y'all aren't already. But thank you so much for coming on. Thanks everyone. Like us, subscribe, come to our website, nftculture.com. If you're in New York next Monday, November 1st, nftculture.com/NFTNYC. We're sponsoring a party with Black Dove, Mad Pups. Top Dog Beach Club's going to be there. We have some of the world's top artists that are going to stop by. I look forward to meeting so many people that tune in to us. So thank you, everybody.